But when black folk kind of rhetorically and in NCOBRA in a more serious way say that we built this country, we really did.
We did.
It's not just rhetoric. Richard America, who teaches at Georgetown University and an economist, says that if you talk about the amount of wealth that African people gave to white America, it would amount to a roughly $8 to $10 trillion. 8 to $10 trillion. That's what they owe us. That's what they owe us. Go back to my title screen, okay? I read and take some pictures, okay?
Tell the story, man.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what Ralph Wiley said. Now, y'all heard of Henry Louis Gates?
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna tell you, Gates and I have been at each other's throat for 20 years, so I'm telling you, this is a bias, okay? We started fighting with each other when I was teaching at Fisk University, so I'm gonna, but you saw what happened to him this week, didn't you?
No.
No, what happened?
You know Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
You know what happened?
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, the actor, had, you know that, what's this show on PBS called?
Who do you think you are?
Tracing Your Roots. Ben Affleck last, winter or something like that, he was on the show and they found out that Affleck had an enslaver as an ancestor.
Wow.
So Gates covered it up.
Right.
He was, Francis Welsing said that black people are trained to protect white people.
Yes.
So he was trying to protect Ben Affleck because he didn't want to get embarrassed. And the problem is it came out anyway.
Yes.
So what happened this week is PBS took Gates' show and suspended it. Because the whole purpose of that show is to tell people where their roots are. And if your roots, if your roots and you're white, but you're enslaved or was an enslaver, you should bring that out. He didn't do it. So I ain't really sorry that you got that after. But anyway, back in 2010, Gates said another ridiculous thing. He said that black folks should pay reparations to other black folks who we enslaved. That's one of the things that we hear it all the time. Didn't black Africans enslave Africans? In my book, Warrior Myth, that's the first thing I dealt with on the first page, because I knew that black folk would be saying that, and unfortunately white folk. And what Gates does is confuse the initiators. See, the initiators of the transatlantic, I'm gonna get this straight, because Jeremiah Wright said we should call it the European slave trade. The trafficking, that's even a better word. It was the Europeans, the Dutch, the French, the Germans, that's who initiated the slave. It wasn't us.
That's
so
right.
The second group are the collaborators.
That's right.
And a lot of people have done this research. This was the biggest collaborator with European tip and tip. Lived from 1830s, you can see when it's like that. He lived in Zanzibar, a little island right off the coast of southeastern coast of Africa. He was the one that collaborated most with 10,000 Africans that he sold directly to the Europeans. Now, people will ask all the time, how many Africans were sold out of Africa or stolen out of Africa? John Henry Clark, our ancestors, said that we must begin the count at 50 million.
Wow.
Begin the count at 50 million. 10,000, and I'm not saying those lives aren't important, but it's clear that if it weren't for the Europeans, we would not have had a transatlantic enslavement of our ancestors. So he's a collaborator. So you got the initiators, the white people, you have the collaborators, super toms like this, and then you got the victims, who are us, most of us. We were stolen, as you know, primarily from West Africa, sold into Europe, Americas, Caribbean. I think in November of this year, they are getting ready to release the records of almost 3 million American Africans who went through the Freedmen's Bureau. Those records are going to be very, very valuable because it will help us trace our roots.
Yes.
I've been working on my father's side of the family. I've done some of my money, and everything gets stuck when you get back to enslavement because they sold us as cattle. I was doing research on my mother's side of the family. She was born in this tiny little town, my mom. In fact, this would have been her 100th birthday this year. And I went to her hometown of Princeton, Kentucky, tiny little town, and we were going through these books, and there was this white girl there, and she was helping. She said, well, Dr. Winbush, you know, I think I know where you're. I was looking for marriage records and birth certificate. So I found the marriage certificate of my great-great-grandmother. And I noticed that all of the black folk were married either on June 21st, September 21st, December 21st, or March 21st. The equinox. I said, well, why is this? They said, well, after enslavement, they would only let black folk get married 4 times a year.
Wow.
So you could just go there and get you a marriage. And guess how much a marriage license costs for my great-great-grandmother? It cost $120.
Wow.
Now, this is back in the 1870s. That's a lot of money.
That's right.
You can get a marriage license in Baltimore now for $20.
Wow.
And why do you think they did that?
To discourage marriage.
Discourage them from getting married, and also the so-called sharecropper owner would say, well, I'll let you get married, but you have to still work our farm. You see? So that's how white supremacy works. Okay? So those were the victims. We were the victims of that. I gotta stick to script because I'll go off. Okay. The 2000 UN World Conference Against Racism, was there anybody there from here that was in South Africa? In 2001, about 14 years ago, the UN World Conference on Racism was the first time that Africans really met from around the world on this issue of reparations. And it allowed us to exchange information. I still have relationships as well as others with those people. Some of you may have seen the film, The Durban 400, that talks about this next film. You know what this is right here? That's Yasser Arafat. Strong support. This is me. That's Sister Ajwa Toro right there. These were people from all over the diaspora, including Yasser Arafat's bodyguard. But he was a strong supporter of reparations, and he was killed by the Israelis, but that's another discussion, okay? So some questions asked and some answers. Question, has any government apologized for its complicity in the enslavement of Africa? Yes, and somewhat. For example, Benin, see the Europeans, the French specifically made Benin apologize in 2003, France in 2001, the Vatican in 1993. The United States is somewhat. Don't let it be confused. When these resolutions were passed by the House and the Senate a few years ago, they said, we apologize, but you cannot sue for what?
Reparations.
You see, so white folks are slick. They say, yeah, we'll apologize, but we can't. So it's like somebody, you know, damaged your car, busted the windows out, and said, well, I'm sorry. And you say, okay, now you're sorry. Can you give me my windows back? And they said, well, we can't do that. It's a half apology.
Their apologies like the U.S.
Okay,
Can't sue me.
profound regret, deep regret, and all of that. Has any group or corporation apologized for its complicity in the European enslavement of Africa?
Yes.
Southern Baptist Convention in 1995. Now, none of these folks paid reparations.
That's right.
They just apologized. Muammar Gaddafi said the European nations should apologize for their enslavement of Africans in 1999. Edna, Sister Deidre Farmer, she told Edna she wanted an apology and $2 billion. They gave her the apology, but no money. And that's what a lot of these people do. J.P. Morgan Chase in 2005 gave $9 million to the state of Louisiana, specifically to African children in Louisiana if they went to college, as well as Wachovia Bank. Those two corporations I call made a down payment on reparations. And then the Archbishop of New Orleans, roughly a couple years ago, did the same thing. But these are like weak things. Question, have any nations paid reparations for the enslavement of Africa? No, not one. No nation, including the United States. So several nations have appointed commissions to study and prosecute for reparation. Now, most of you have heard of CARICOM.
Yes.
Caribbean. We talked about this. Is the general still here? He's still here. Yeah. We talked about, look, there's problems with this. Like, I'll tell you one thing, Joe, you probably already know this, though. There were several people in the CARICOM delegation that wanted a black law firm But the Jamaican delegate said he wanted a white law firm. And there was argument among the CARICOM members about this whole thing. So there are issues about legislation about how we are prosecuting reparations and so forth. They wound up hiring, Lede Day out of London. And they were the ones who successfully, that law firm is successful in suing governments for atrocities. So they sued Britain for the atrocities they committed in Kenya during the Mau Mau rebellion of the early 1950s. Right now, CARICOM is going to begin negotiations in about 2 weeks with these nations in Europe, Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, Netherlands, and Sweden, on the issue of reparations.
Britain paid?
Britain paid. In fact, I get right, in fact, here it is right here. I've worked this out. They paid $30 million total to 5,228 Kenyans. And I worked this out in terms of U.S. salary. That was roughly, they gave individual reparations. It worked out to about $234,000, roughly, that they paid. And then $10 million was paid by the New Zealand government to the Ngati Howard Foundation. Those are the Indians who were slaughtered in New Zealand. So these are two nations who have recently made reparations, in part. Have any private corporations made reparations? Yes, J.P. Morgan, Wachovia, which is now called Wells Fargo. And in somewhat the black farmers settlement that occurred less than a year ago, which was paid that should be $1.2 billion that were paid. But that was not a lot of money either. So there's examples of that. Anybody want to say something about, yeah?
About $40,000
About $40,000 per black farmer. Per black farmer.
Excuse me, have they received the money? Because I heard something about they hadn't received the money.
Some have and some haven't.
How much did the law firm get in the advertising company?
The law firm got almost 300 and some odd million.
Yeah.
Right. There's a ripoff.
And the advertisement, the telephone.
All of that. So that's why I'm qualifying this whole issue about reparations.
I'm going to make a little distinction.
No, go ahead.
And a little nuance around this corporate so-called reparation payment.
Yeah.
There's a thing called corporate responsibility. Yeah. All right? That's what it was. They were taking care of their corporate responsibility, not reparation. And they gave the word to the NAACP to use it as reparation, but it's no more than simply corporate responsibility, community relations. That's what it was. I want to make that distinction because back in 2007 or something like that, NCOBRA National, we was debating what that was all about. Right around that time, 2005, because that was the year that Philadelphia passed the slavery disclosure law.
Right.
And so we was trying to say, do we want to get in front of that or not? But we realized that was just plain, simple corporate responsibility. They do it all the time. They do it every day to control our community. So that's the distinction I'm making.
Good point. These are the 5 communities I think that must cooperate in the movement for reparations. And I want to say I put this in my book, Should America Pay? So it's all in there. I call it the glass model. And the first are grassroots organization, NCOBRA. And I'll give examples of all. Legislators must get together with grassroots organizations. Attorneys, scholars, and students. Those are the 5 groups. So I'm going to give examples of this during the civil rights hearing. Grassroots organizations, I think Monday is Kwame Ture's birthday, if I'm not mistaken. Grassroots organizations such as SCLC and SNCC got together with legislators like Adam Clayton Powell, who also had attorneys Charles Hamilton Houston and Thurgood Marshall, scholars such as Charles Johnson and John Hope Franklin, and students. Some of you know these people. You should know all of them. Kwame Ture, Willie Ricks, Diane Nash, Jesse Jackson, and John Lewis. Those were students back in the day. Students back then. So that's during the civil rights era. So here's the glass model now. Grassroots organizations, NCOBRA, this one. The National Black United Front, Salim in the house. Salim in the house.
He was.
Anyway,
He was here.
We all members of NCOBRA anyway. The NCOBRA movement, some of you may remember when several of us met with Minister Farrakhan in 2003 in Chicago, and we got together and went to 5 cities in the United States. Don't ask me the name of Jackson, Baltimore, Atlanta, Houston, there was one more. Anyway, we went there teaching folk about reparations, and Minister Farrakhan agreed to do another grassroots movement. The Republic of New Africa, how can we forget the work of the RNA? And there's a new book out, Free the Land. There's a new book out called We Will Shoot Back. Y'all read that? Y'all got to read that. That's all by Mario Bedelli in there. It's called We Will Shoot Back by Akiyele Umoja, who's head of Black Studies at Georgia State University. And it is about the Mississippi Freedom Movement. Guess who said we'll shoot back?
Dr. King.
Charles Evers. Medgar Evers' brother.
All right.
And Medgar Evers carried his gun every place. See, we don't want to talk about guns and protecting our community.
That's right.
Now, they're talking about it now in churches.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? The deacons of defense. We have a long history of self-defense. The Black Panther Party, you can go all the way back to the 1920s about defending ourselves. And we need to continue to talk about that. And I know a lot of that. There's another book out, I'm just naming, these books have all been published in the past 3 years. There's another one called, This Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed. It's about Black folk and the gun. It just came out. And the other one is the Negro and the Gun. Those 3 books have come out in the past year. And we need to be ready. I ain't got time to go into some of this stuff. The Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, y'all know about that. National African American Reparation Commission, which just got formed. I'm a member of as well as other folks. Legislators, everybody knows Congressman John Conyers' H.R. 40. We had a very frank discussion about this at the meeting of the NARC, National African American Reparation Commission, a couple of weeks ago. Jeremiah Wright was there, Julia Malvo, and a bunch of us. And there's a lot of people who now, we should always support H.R. 40, but the odds of it getting out of committee right now are slim to none. I'm being honest with you. We had a chance when Obama was elected, when Congressman Conyers was chair of the House Judiciary Committee, to study reparations. We had a chance. And Nancy Pelosi, I ain't talking about the people know this who work, Nancy Pelosi told him not to do that because it would create problems for the first Black president of the United States. And Conyers abided by that. And we should have pressed on. Joanne Watson was in that meeting. You know her as a former, who I think should be the next mayor of Detroit, but that's another discussion. Dorothy Tillman of Chicago, Charles Barron of New York, and Henry Brooks of Memphis, Tennessee. These are all legislators who are strongly in support of reparation. Attorneys, Lionel Baptiste. How many of y'all know Lionel? Here you go. He did that whole lawsuit against the corporation for nothing. We still owe Lionel about $8 billion for his work. Charles Ogletree of Harvard University, Roger Wareham of D12, y'all know him, as well as Hank and Rose Sanders. I was in Selma during the 50th anniversary. Hank and Rose have been down there since God was a child. I don't know how they stay down there that long, but they've been down there and they're strong supporters of reparations. And family scholars, Ron Waters, who we know, Ashe, University of Maryland, Richard America, who I know is still teaching economics, wrote a paper back in 1969 called What We Want. Because white folks always ask me, what do you people want? He said, what we want. And he said he wanted money for reparations. And this was back in 69. Leonard Jeffries, who spoke here last night. Joy DeGruy, whose book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. Everyone should read that. Conrad Will, y'all know him. Roy Brooks, who teaches at the University of San Diego, has written a powerful book about reparations called When Sorry Isn't Enough.
Amen.
You're going to read that book.
Amen.
And Marimba Ani, of course, the author of what book? Urugu of Atlanta. These are strong supporters. Students. Whatever. Okay. Jamal Davis, he's one of my students at Morgan State. Strong supporter. And I know in NCOBRA, we got to get young folk. I'm getting tired. I gotta get up at 2:30 this morning to catch a plane back to New York. To Baltimore. And I'm mentioning that because we gotta hand it over to the young people. Sometimes we hold on to, I've got a meeting with, what's his name, DeRay McKesson. Some of you may know him. He's the young brother that's been in the Black Lives Matter movement, and he's from Baltimore. We're meeting on Tuesday, and I said, look, bro, you can do some of this work. So we need to train young people in this. There's students who are doing research. In Buffalo, Washington, Celine's chapter is one of the most powerful in this country right now. So how they work together? So all these groups that I just named, they work together for reparations victims. So here's some caveats. Roles are not mutually exclusive. For example, you could be a scholar and an attorney like Charles Ogletree. Or you could be a scholar and an activist like Conrad. Or Thomas Muhammad down in Dallas, you can be an activist and a human service director. And Rose and Hank Sanders, attorneys and activists. So it doesn't mean you say, well, I'm just going to stay in my lane or something like that. Who is this right here? Does everybody know? What she do? Y'all know this. You already look. This sister, you know, you should read Mary Francis's book, My Face is Black and True. That is that's all about Kelly House. We're going, Mary Frances, Berry, myself, and VP Franklin, we've been asked to do a workshop together in Scotland. Why Scotland? I ain't never even been to Scotland. But I'm going because there's a lot of European Africans who support reparations.
Yes, they do.
But they don't have the movement like in the Caribbean as well as in the United States. So we're going to help them out. But the reason why I put this here, Kelly House got 600,000 Africans to sign a petition.
Wow.
This is before Twitter, no telephone, no cell phone, no fax machine. She just went around getting people to sign up. And she got thrown in prison. You know the story? Guess who was the young prosecutor that was trying to get her or got her thrown in prison? You know who it was? J. Edgar Hoover. You know that? That's how he got his start. He also got Marcus Garvey. But we got so Malcolm. He got everybody. That's right. So I always looked at Kelly House saying, when I get tired, I said, look at what this sister did. Spend time in prison working for reparations. Read Mary Frances' book. This is what I'm proposing. I said, we need, look, I'm going to say this. We need full-time people working on reparations.
All right.
Most of us, like Sister Janet, we're there. You working part-time on it. Most of us work part-time on this. We need a full-time group, an organization. I'm not talking about NCOBRA. I'm talking about people who get paid. That's right. See, if I had $10 million, I would say, well, let me give Janet $1 million for her salary for 10 years. Give Conrad, Celine, and other people so they can work full-time on reparations. That's how the Jews got money from the Holocaust. They had an organization. That's all they were doing. So I call this organization I Rise. That's for reparations, information strategies, and education. So we don't have a clearinghouse, a central clearinghouse for our stuff. I was looking at the NCOBRA website. There's too many NCOBRA websites. Now, I ain't criticizing. Y'all, we need to have one website for NCOBRA. Because I said, you got a website here, and some of them haven't been updated for 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
So y'all need to take the ones, we actually, not y'all, we need to take down the one and just have one website and put information up there. That's not a criticism, just a suggestion.
Sorry.
So we would measure the reparations movement in 6-month increments, semi-annual. Commit individually or as a group to a single strategy. You ever notice that white folks in their political campaign, they have single strategy. So the Right to Life movement said, do you support abortion? That's it. Second Amendment people, do you support gun rights? That's it. We should start asking elected officials, do you support reparations? Just ask them that. Now that happened when Barack Obama was running for president. Remember that debate where the NCOBRA brother got up and asked that question? We should ask that question of our elected officials. 2 examples, recruit at least 4 more members of Congress in writing to the reparation movement in writing to the reparations movement, similar to Congressman John Gahn. We're losing, a lot of people in the Congressional Black Caucus do not support reparations. They don't. And we need to shame them. We need to put their names out. Is Selene here again? I asked her, she's gone. But we need to put that list out. Located at least one attorney in 6 states willing to file lawsuits against corporations or other states that benefited from the trans-European slave trades, or whatever we're going to. Yes. Lawsuits need to be filed at several levels. So these are just states that I think. The United States is not a member of the International Criminal Court. And the reason why the United States is not a member of the International Criminal Court, because it would be sued.
Yes.
And the only thing the ICC does now is prosecute African leaders.
That's
all
right.
they do.
That's right.
Every time you read about the International Criminal Court in The Hague, all they do is prosecute African leaders. They have never prosecuted a European for anything.
And pay white contractors to build a courtroom.
That is incredible if you've seen it. So I got issues with the International Criminal Court. I really do. So this is the last slide. Tuda Shinda Bila Shaka. We will win, no doubt. There's no doubt. And I want to say one other thing. This is a film that is out now called The Price of Memory. How many of you have seen this film? You must see this film. It was done by a sister from Jamaica named Karen Mafudin. It is the best film that I have ever seen about reparations. We premiered it in Baltimore at Morgan State University. She's just coming back into the country from a tour of Europe about this film. And everybody I've talked to over there loved it. You must see this film. It took her 10 years to make it. And it is the best film that's ever been done by reparations. And last but not least, I'm going to read something from an ancestor that I always in my presentations with. And I will sit down. This is a letter that was written in 1865 from a man named Jordan Anderson. And it was in 1865, as you know, was the end of the Civil War. And his old master, Colonel Anderson, wrote him a letter. Jordan was living in Dayton, Ohio. And his old master wrote him and said, would you come back and help me out on the plantation? So he must have thought Jordan was crazy. And this is the actual letter that he wrote back. This ain't no Willie Lynch letter, which is nothing wrong with it. And he lived in Big Spring, Tennessee, Colonel Anderson. And Jordan had been enslaved in Big Spring, Tennessee. So here's the letter. To my old master, Colonel P.H. Anderson, Big Spring, Tennessee. Sir, I got your letter and was glad to find that you had not forgotten Jordan and that you wanted me to come back and live with you again, promising to do better for me than anybody else can. I have often felt uneasy about you. See, black folk call that signifying. He didn't say, I hate you, you make me sick, you must be crazy. He said, I have often felt uneasy about you. I thought the Yankees would have hung you long before this. For harboring ribs they found at your house. I want to know particularly what the good chance is you propose to give me. I'm doing tolerably well here in Dayton. I get $25 a month with victuals and clothing. Victuals for the young folk, that's food. Have a comfortable home for Mandy. The folks here calls her Mrs. Anderson.
Wow.
Signifying it because he knew that his old master would not call his wife Mrs. Anderson. And the children, Millie, Jane, and Grundy, go to school and are learning well. As to my freedom, which you say I can have, there's nothing to be gained on that because brother was already free. As I got my free papers in 1864 from the Provost Marshal General of the Department of Nashville and found out that that was on the campus of Fisk University, where I used to teach, in fact. Mandy, that's his wife, says she would be afraid to go back without some proof that you were disposed to treat us justly and kindly. And we have concluded to test your sincerity by asking you to send us our wages for the time we served you. This is 1865. This will make us forget and forgive old scores and rely on your justice. Africans are always talking about justice and friendship in the future. I served you faithfully for 32 years.
Wow.
And Mandy 20 years. At $25 a month for you, for me, and $2 a week for Mandy, our earnings would amount to $11,680. The brother had learned to count.
Yes, he did.
Add to this the interest for the time our wages have been kept back, and deduct what you paid for our clothing and 3 doctor's visits to me and pulling a tooth for Mandy, and the balance will show what we are in justice entitled to. Please send the money by Adams Express. I guess that was like Federal Express back in the day. In care of V. Winters Esquire. He hired a lawyer, so you know he was free there. If you fail to pay us for faithful labors in the past, we can have little faith in your promises in the future. We trust your fathers have done to me and my fathers have done to me and my fathers in making us toil for you for generations without recompense. Surely there will be a day of reckoning for those who defraud the labor of his hire.
That's right.
In answering this letter, please state if there would be any safety for my Millie and Jane, who are now grown up and both good-looking girls. You know what he was talking about.
Yes.
The first sexual experience of most white boys on the plantation was with black women. And it's interesting that idiot, that guy that killed, he said, first thing that came out of his mouth, he said,
You
you've
rape.
been raping our, what did he say? Somebody
You've been
said,
raping our women. Yes.
You've been raping their women. They've been raping our women for 250 years, but that's another discussion.
He killed 6 women.
That's right, and killed 6 women. You know how it is with poor Matilda and Catherine. I would rather stay here and starve and die, if it come to that, than have my girls brought to shame by the violence and wickedness of their young masters. You will also please state if there have been any schools open for the colored children in your neighborhood. And you know there wasn't in 1865 in Big Spring, Tennessee, but he has. The great desire of my life now is to give my children an education and have them form virtuous habits. Say howdy to George Carter and thank him for taking a pistol from you when you were shooting at me from your old servant, Jordan Anderson.
Whoa.